Hey everyone, this is Living for the Weeknight, and on today's episode we have Lottie. So Lottie's someone who I met in Berlin, and you'll find out how in the episode. And she's a really awesome person who went to university at Central St Martin's in London, which is a very prestigious school. And she's now gone on to live in Berlin, and she's doing a lot of different ceramics projects at the moment, and has a lot on the go. We had a really interesting conversation, and I think you're all going to really enjoy this one. I apologise if there's any audio or video issues. You know, we moved to video this season, having some teething issues as you do, given I've learned how to use the software, but hopefully not too many hiccups this time. And if you have any feedback, I'm always happy to learn more and listen. So thank you and enjoy the episode. Hey Lottie, how are you doing? I haven't been speaking to you for 5 minutes or anything, or sorting out tech issues. This is clearly the start of the real podcast. That's all the audience needs to know. But how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Life's a little bit stressful at the moment because I'm facing a lot of change coming up soon. But I don't know. I think I'm becoming addicted to change, which is a good thing, actually. I'm trying to lean into the unknown because I'm going to have to move flats very soon. And as I was explaining to you, there's housing crisis in Berlin. It's different to the one in London. It's just no one has got anywhere to live. So it's competitive. But it's okay. It's going to be fine. And then on top of that, I'm going to move studios, actually, because I've been renting one, which is like a collective space, for a few months now. But it doesn't have a kiln. And I make ceramics, so I need a kiln, really. It's been quite annoying having to transport pieces. And so I found this new space, which has a kiln, which is very exciting.
That's actually a very good transition into the actual theme of the podcast. I actually love it. I didn't even have to say anything. You just did it for me. Do you want to come on every episode?
If you give me 5 minutes, I'll start talking about ceramics anyway. So.
Yeah. That's what we want on the podcast. But yeah, I'm sure I'll probably record another intro and explain who you are. But in case I don't, this is Lottie, and we met in Berlin. And for not the first time in this podcast, I met someone at Berghain and asked them to come on the podcast. Which I always feel a bit weird saying on this.
So there was someone else as well. Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, a girl called Jess who runs a really cool event series called The Mix Up in Berlin at, I think the venue's called, my pronunciation's going to be terrible, but Zurklappe. The place that
I know Zurklappe.
Yeah. It used to be I think I was told it used to be like a gay cruising spot, like a toilet.
Yes. And you can tell it was really fun. It's like that's really cool. Yeah, it's my friend played there. It's like a nice little small club, and yeah, you can kind of tell it used to be a toilet because it's kind of underground.
Yeah.
It's fun.
That is fun. But yeah, Lottie and I met at a night called Reef, which is kind of bass music, drum and bass, dubstep, bit of footwork that night actually, which happens 3 times a year at Berghain, and really incredible experience, I find. I think it's like a really nice crowd as well. Very, very fun event that I keep finding myself going back to Berlin for, and hopefully I'll be back for the next one on August 16th. Hopefully I'll get some paid promotion for that. That wasn't intentional.
Get sponsored.
Get sponsored by Reef for that.
It's funny, though, that you met me there, because it was actually my first time going to Berghain. And I don't normally listen to drum and bass. I don't really listen to it anymore. So it's kind of 2 rare crossovers. So
what brought you there?
Yeah. Let me have a think. Why was I there?
Friends needed to dance.
I think it's probably my friends. But I normally I don't know. I love going out when I'm in the mood. I'm not going out as much at the moment just because I've got a lot of work on. But if I'm in the mood for a dance, I'm not really picky what music I like, and my friends are a lot more into kind of DJs. The kind of music I listen to at home is not really electronic music. I mean, I used to like drum and bass when I was younger.
There's still time. There's time to get back into it.
But yeah, I went because also, you know, it's British night. You know, why not?
It is a very British. It's the most UK Berghain ever gets. And it's funny because compared to like regular club night at Berghain, it's so different to Reef. Like the crowd is so British, but I kind of love it. It's just, I don't know, Berghain on the regular night's fun, but it can sometimes feel a little bit too intense. Whereas Reef just feels a bit more, I don't know, jovial, just kind of stupid and fun and silly, which is what I like. But yeah, that's where Lottie and I met and got speaking at some point in the night, and found out that Lottie does some really cool stuff. You've already kind of gave us a bit of a brief intro to it, but tell me, Lottie, who are you? What do you do in life? Whether it's work, whether it's other stuff, say whatever you want to say. Tell us who you are.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice. You said it's really cool. Yeah, I am Lottie. I now live in Berlin, and I've been here for since October. So I'm what month is it now? I don't know. That's actually quite a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was living in London before, and I was studying at Central St Martin's because I'm an artist. I was studying fine art, and graduated last year, and knew I wanted to leave London. Because I grew up near London. I grew up in Buckinghamshire, which, like, where I'm from, like, the town, it's actually on the underground. Oh. So I could get into London very easily. So whilst it was, like, countryside, and, I don't know, it was quite a... I don't know, I'd quite like to say quite conservative area. Like, I had access to London, which was nice.
Very non-Berlin.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, I didn't want to go back there when I finished. Yeah. You know, moving to London was really good for me because where I grew up, there wasn't very many creative people, actually. But yeah, like I liked being in London for that time, but it got too expensive and very kind of busy and can be a stressful city.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, because you live there now.
Yeah, and
don't you?
And I had that same thing you had, where when I finished university, like, I studied in London, and I found myself moving to Bristol, mainly just because that's where my job took me. But it was kind of nice to get out of the city, have a bit of a break, because as you said, it can be quite intense, quite busy, expensive as well, which is quite hard, you know, when you're starting out in the world of work, one of those. Yeah. But yeah, so you went to university, you kind of wanted to go somewhere a bit cheaper, but get a bit of a change. Why Berlin? What took you there?
So in April last year, one of my close friends at uni, Amelia, she had her first solo show in Berlin. And so she's Austrian, but I think she lived in Berlin for a little bit. And so, yeah, that's why she had her first solo show here. And I'd never been before. And I don't know, there's quite a reputation that St Martin students love Berlin. And everyone at uni was like, you're going to love it. And
CSM students love Berlin honestly, and Fold.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, exactly.
Fold is full of CSM students. It's funny.
I never actually went when I was there. But yeah, I've heard it's similar.
But yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah.
You were saying?
No, it's okay. So yeah, I went to Berlin to support Amelia, and I didn't really have any expectations, but I went during Gallery Weekend, which is this amazing event. It's in Berlin, and they do it in London as well, but it's not as big a thing. So during that time, I went to her show, but also it was just like this incredible buzz of just constant like gallery openings and events and people just really passionate about art, and to be in that, to be around that, for me was just like incredible. I just like, this is fantastic. I love this. I don't know, like the amount of artists here, the amount of people that are interested in art. And on top of that, also, obviously, I had a lot of fun. Like, I went out clubbing a few times and got a feel for it. I was only here 4 days, which actually, looking back on it, is pretty crazy. That's all I experienced of Berlin before moving here.
That's not a long time. That's really not a long time.
It's not. But I think, actually, so after that experience, I knew I wanted to go somewhere else. I knew I wanted it to be a city. And I'd always thought about moving abroad. And then I have a friend, Tom, who lived here for a long time. He's now moved back to London, but he speaks very highly of it. And then also I've knew 2 people, like my 2 close friends, Grace and Emily, they were moving here. So it was like, I had kind of already a crutch to lean on, which obviously helps. And then I think also the final factor that helped me to really know I wanted to be abroad was before I moved here in September after my graduation, I did a residency in Norway for a month.
That sounds fun. Tell us about that.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Yeah, it was like on an island called Stokoya, which is only available to CSM students, but you can be like a postgrad as well. So, yeah, I really recommend it. It was incredible. So they picked 2 students to do it every year. And I got to go with my friend Tom.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was this tiny island with 200 people. And just to be somewhere else and realise there's so much more in the world, I think really pushed me to be like, I want to get out. I want to get out and see more, experience more.
So kind of like
that experience was amazing.
So kind of like kind of like that combined with getting it, that feeling of being out and seeing something new, but combined with the feeling of when you were in Berlin, all the art you got to experience and all the culture, kind of those 2 things kind of made you feel like, okay, you want to go somewhere and maybe Berlin's the place.
Yeah, exactly. I nearly said Genau then, which is really funny.
What is Genau?
Genau is like what everyone says here. It's German, it means exactly, but it's like everyone who's an expat who doesn't really speak German, everyone knows Genau, so they just say Genau all the time, and now it's like
I'll adopt that for when I come in a few weeks. Genau.
Yeah. You didn't know Genau. Okay, so that's like fundamental. Now you know Genau, you're gonna get places.
No, I am. All I knew before was Ich spreche Klein Deutsch, which doesn't even really make sense. It just means I speak little German, but not even little, like small. You use that word if you're talking about, I don't know, height.
Yeah. Like I speak small German.
Small German, yeah.
You could say kein Deutsch as well, which is no German.
Genau.
Genau.
So the residency. So what exactly were you doing in that residency on that island in Norway?
So it was brilliant because it was fully funded, other than the flights, which meant it was really great because also Norway is quite an expensive country. But when we had to get there, which was a pretty crazy journey because you got to fly to Oslo, and then from Oslo you got to fly to somewhere called Trondheim, which is on the northeast, so the west coast. And then from there we had to get a ferry. So I met Tom there. We had to get a ferry, and then we got picked up in a car. And then drove a few hours, and that was with the guy running it called Hugo, who's a wonderful artist. So it was kind of me, him and Tom mainly on the residency, and then there was also another artist who got involved a little bit, and then Kirsten in the end, who ran the whole thing, joined. But yeah, tiny island, very kind of kind, lovely people, very friendly. And the first week we kind of got to explore and engage with the environment. So I actually really enjoy foraging. I did that a bit with my dad, like where I grew up. I'm really interested in plants and mushrooms especially. And it was mushroom season, so we got taken mushroom foraging a lot. There's a lot of like chanterelles, which are like these beautiful orange kind of trumpet mushrooms. We also, I don't know, we got to go fishing. Like this guy like took us fishing. We got to kind of catch loads of mackerel.
Oh,
really nice. And then from these kind of interesting experiences in the first week, we then kind of took that into, okay, so now what are we going to do with the work? And I think the first thing about the residency is what you make stays there. So we had to think, okay, what do we want to leave here? And the people were so kind, so giving, and we felt we wanted to give back to them in some way. So it became clear we wanted to create a meeting place. So we decided we noticed there was a recurring pattern that people really liked building fires, and it's a very kind of primal thing to do, and it's kind of a ubiquitous language. You know, everyone likes fire. I mean, everyone's drawn to it, and it brings people together. So we built a fire pit, and around this fire pit, we created like a mini sculpture park.
Ooh.
And as I am a ceramicist, I was really excited because they had a lot of beautiful blue clay there. And so the guy who kind of owned the island, or some of the island, he had this digger, and he dug up a lot of the clay. And we used the clay and kind of that was kind of my angle with like the collaboration. And we created this building material called cob, which is very rigid, strong. It's made of like straw, sand and clay. We mixed it and put it on top of concrete and made these massive to me, maybe not to them, but I've never made work so big. But when you've got funding, it's really nice because you can kind of push yourself.
Yeah.
So we made these really, I think they're beautiful sculptures in this incredible setting that overlook the sea. And it's still there, and they surround this fire pit. So that experience for me was just fantastic. I mean, I'd love to go back.
It sounds super beautiful. It does, and I'm perfect for you as a ceramicist. How did you actually get into ceramics in terms of there's so much you can do in the world of art? I imagine there's so much opportunity as well at Central St. Martin's. What drew you to ceramics?
Oh, good question. I didn't always used to do ceramics. I used to be a painter, and I got a bit bored. Painting isn't tactile enough for me. I think I like to do things with my hands. I'm very much a maker. And I kind of fell into it, actually. It was in the third year, because I did 4 years, because I took a year out, which a lot of people did, and they did like a placement year. And I worked for a lot of artists in that time, and the first artist who had a real impact on me was this artist called Olivia Bax. She was amazing, and she was really kind. Like, she really engaged with my work, and like she looked at it, and she said, "Oh, you know, have you ever looked at ceramics? I think you should." Because by that point, I was trying to test out other materials from painting. I was a bit stuck. I didn't really know what I wanted to make. I was playing with all kinds of things, but I'd never tried it simply because I guess it's quite expensive. Yeah. But in the same building, there was a ceramic studio downstairs, and she bought me a workshop as like a thank you, which was very sweet, and I loved it. And I asked Steph, who ran it, if she needed any help, and she did. And I got to work there for over 2 years, and she trained me like from a craft perspective, which as an artist is invaluable to learn from. And I don't like to always separate ceramics from art, because in my opinion, I don't know, people always try and group you into one of these two things. But Steph definitely was a ceramicist, you know, she did like product design, and that was kind of her angle. Such an amazing maker, and yeah, she taught me how to do things properly, and so did the other ladies I was with, and I really got to understand the material. So I was doing that, and then when I went into my final year, I kind of had this knowledge under my belt that I continued to work there during final year. And I ended up firing all my work there, actually, because
Oh,
it
yeah?
was cheaper and I couldn't get access to a kiln at uni. But yeah, that's how I fell into it.
Nice. And then I guess when you were choosing somewhere to live abroad and settling on Berlin, but does Berlin have a good scene for being into ceramics? And also, I guess, showcasing your work, all those kind of exhibitions as well, and other opportunities. Is it a big place in Berlin, or have you kind of had to find your way a bit, or a bit of both, I guess?
So this has kind of been... Actually, I'll start with the first. So, like, ceramics here actually is really quite big scene.
Yeah.
And obviously, when I tell people who maybe aren't creative and that I do ceramics, they definitely see it as quite a niche kind of thing.
Mm.
But here, there is such an abundance, actually, and I love it. Like, I don't know, my job, so I work as a freelancer, and one of the things I do is I work for an artist called Alicia Gfada, and there's a lot of artists there. There's a lot of artists. And there's a lot of ceramicists, actually, and it's kind of helped me to build a community already of... so far, I've only met female presenting ceramicists, so I call them Cladies.
Cladies,
Which
I love
is
that.
really cute.
That is very cute.
Yeah, I've met a lot of Cladies, which has been great. And I don't know, like, for a long time I was beating myself up about the fact so far being here I haven't been in any shows yet. Because in London I was doing shows. Back in November I was shortlisted for a prize called the Ingram Prize.
Wow.
Which
Yeah, tell us about that. What was the work? How did you get shortlisted? That's awesome.
So it's quite a big prize. Like, it's free to enter, which is why I did it, because there's so many prizes out there now, but you've got to pay. And yeah, I don't know, some of them are maybe worth doing, but I couldn't afford, especially in London, to be paying to apply for all these shows. And I won't go into it, but that's one of the issues within the art world. But this one's amazing because it's free, so anyone can apply. And yeah, so I applied with these two large, well, I wouldn't say they're massive, but there's two claws I made. And I got shortlisted, which was an amazing experience. It was the first time I'd showed work in an institution. I've been in, kind of artist-ran exhibitions and things I put on with my friends and things like that. But it's the first time I kind of, like, the curator, she's amazing. And it was really nice to be in this incredible space called Cromwell Place, a very bougie building in Kensington. And it was so cool. And yeah, like, it was a cool experience as well, because afterwards they gave us like a lot of like mentorship and advice and how to build yourself and as an artist and your connections, and just good advice in general. A lot of lectures and things, which I loved. But yeah, after that it was kind of like, ooh, because I had to fly back from Berlin for that and came back again. I was like, can I swear? I was like,
you can swear. You can swear. You're allowed to.
Okay.
I think they say the rule they say is on YouTube, don't swear in the first 2 minutes because you'll get demonetized. But I don't make any money from this, so it doesn't matter. So swear. I swear.
Okay.
Swear as much as you want.
Okay, I was gonna say, oh shit, but oh shit, I'm making the wrong decision. Like, so much in London. Like, why am I moving somewhere where I have no connections? Because in my placement year, I worked for a lot of different artists. I met people. I worked in a gallery. I worked at the ceramic studio. I was meeting people all the time. And London is good for that. But then I realised, actually, it's not going anywhere. And those people, you still have their details. And it takes time to make these connections. And I was beating myself up about it for a little bit, because moving abroad takes a lot of time, like, to settle. And I don't know, especially as a freelancer, you're constantly balancing things. And but I think things are finally falling into place.
A lot more kind of shows and exhibitions planned at the moment.
Yeah, so basically I've been planning, I really want to do some curation. Like,
Nice.
I think that's something I've been interested in for a while. And as I was saying, like, I've met so many cladies. I think it'd be really beautiful to put on like a Flinter ceramic show. I don't know, maybe a few. And yeah, I'm moving into this new studio, which is in Boxhagener Platz. It's a great location, and it's only been open for a little bit. But they've got a beautiful gallery space.
Nice.
And yeah, I can put on exhibitions there. So I think my plan is, I think by the end of the year, I'd like to put on a few shows with other people, but also my own work.
Yeah.
But yeah, all good things take time.
They do, and I guess having a Flinter show as well. And for context for the audience, because I only heard of the term Flinter when I first went to Germany. I'm hearing it more in the UK now, but not as much as Germany. But it stands for, correct me if I'm wrong, female, lesbian, intersex, non-binary, trans, agender. Pretty much an umbrella term for kind of anyone but a cis man is kind of how I see it.
Genau.
Yeah, and
yeah, exactly.
And so I'm assuming like it seems very common in the world of art where it's very male dominated and very male orientated. Would you say the same about the clay world and the ceramics world?
Not at all.
No?
Maybe in galleries and institutions. That's something I still haven't really accessed other than that prize. Like, I'm not... Honestly, I think the shows I've seen here in Berlin so far, the ones that interest me the most are the grassroots shows, like the community ran kind of... Those have been the shows that are way more interesting. Like, I've seen some really cool, like, kind of performance collectives and kind of... Yeah, these are the shows that I'm more interested in, and they're the ones I want to be a part of.
Tell us about an interesting show you've seen. Like, what's something that sticks out for you?
Oh, I went to this one, like, must have been a few months ago. I can't remember the name of the gallery. It was really bad. It was, I don't know if it was like underground. There's all these different tunnels, and it was like a performance troupe. And in each room you'd enter, they'd have a DJ. Oh, but it was some very weird, kind of surreal, dark kind of sounds and things coming out.
Very Berlin sounds.
Very Berlin. But the performers were just doing these incredible, beautiful dances and like very expressive. Like, it was very Berlin, but it was also very emotional and, I don't know, gutsy. Work like that takes guts, and I don't know, I thought it was really, really cool. Really cool. So that's, I think, yeah, maybe the best thing I've seen here recently. I'm really struggling at the moment to find time for shows. I've been going to a lot of openings, but also it's hard sometimes to engage with the work because there's so many people around at openings.
Yeah, definitely. And
yeah.
I recall you saying, like, even before this call, you've been very busy. Are you, at the moment, I know you're working towards curation as well, but do you have quite a lot of projects on the go at the moment, like different ones? Or are you working on one dedicated one?
I've been making actually more functional ceramics for my freelancing, just because I think it's kind of easier to sell.
Yeah.
Honestly. And just so I can kind of have and it's really purely because of tax, and I know that sounds really bad, but like, it means then that I can keep my job for Alicia. So I've been making some pots and like candle holders and things like that for a florist.
Nice.
In Kreuzberg called Studio Lynn, because I contacted them. They said, yes, make us some things that are more functional. So I've been working on that, and I'm going to also send out a portfolio to other places. And then on top of that, there's a few other things I've been making for. I've been planning a solo show, but I think I want to aim for next year with that. I don't want to rush it. I've also been planning a couple collaborations. I think it's always nice to do collaborations with my friends. My friend Manuela is a really talented fashion designer. And for a while I've wanted to make jewellery, and yeah, we discussed it, and she's really, really passionate to do that. So we've kind of planned, we've done some designs of things we want to make, and it's very exciting. I'm really, really excited for that. And
Nice.
then also my friend Chris, he does a lot of like, what's the word? Etchings. Like he uses like a Dremel, a Dremel, like into a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And he does like really beautiful kind of, they're kind of inspired by street like tags. He does tagging.
Nice.
He does it into mirrors.
That's really cool.
I've previously...
Very unique.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll have to send it to you. But like I've done mirror frames in the past, and I found this mirror, and I thought it'd be nice for us to kind of bring the two together. So
yeah, like
little things.
I feel like sometimes in the world of arts, it can feel a bit lonely at times, and collaborations can always be quite nice, and also bringing new ideas to the table, learning a lot from each other too. It's kind of nice, isn't it?
I think collaboration is so important. I've always actually really enjoyed it, and I know it can be hard. Like on the residency, I think that was definitely a good test to see if I enjoyed collaboration, and I actually really did. I really loved it. I learnt so much from the other two artists, and I'm always open to collaboration.
It can transcend your own work.
What else I can do? Sorry?
It can transcend your own work and like just your own personal development. I think it's so important to work with other people, experience other people's art as well, and you never know where it's going to lead you with your own interests.
Yeah, I'm always open to hearing new ideas. Like I've been thinking about it for a while. I spoke to my friend Grace recently. She does analog film, and it's very interesting practice. It's quite similar to ceramics in some way. It's very traditional kind of craft, but she kind of colours her film with different chemicals. And I was saying we could try it with clay. I thought that'd be really fun. That
sounds cool.
I'm gonna try things like that.
But yeah, it sounds like you've got a lot on the go. You've got a lot of projects you're doing, a lot of things you're working for, and then you've also got you're working as an assistant as well to a sculpturer. That's a lot to do. How do you balance? How do you make it all work? How do you make it all work and keep it all going?
I'm not putting like pressure on myself to deliver. Like if there's certain things that I definitely need doing, like for a certain time, I will prioritize those things. But I think trusting the process is so important, because otherwise you won't enjoy the making, and that's the joy. The best part is like the play, the making, the being in the studio and just seeing what happens. Because also like I never end up making what I think it's going to look like. Yeah. It always is something different, and that's the nature of ceramics. But also like, I don't know, I was given a really good piece of advice by actually another student at St. Martin's. I think it's the best advice I got, which was to, I don't know, listen to your mistakes, because that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, I like that is something good. Yeah, I like that a lot.
So I think that's what it is, just to try and enjoy it. And also, I don't know, like, prioritizing, like, for example, I'm having to make sacrifices at the moment. Like I'm not really partying very much. And that's okay. I mean, my job's so social that actually often I'm kind of enjoying being in the studio. It's nice to have time with myself. And I want to be there.
Yeah. Do you find like... Do you find partying can just disrupt your schedule a bit too much?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really fun. But it does take up a lot of time and money.
Yeah. Especially in Berlin, where the parties just go on a lot longer than the UK. Like, in the UK, if you want to do a short buggy, you can go out and be back by 2 a.m. if you really want. Berlin, I feel like it's an early night if I'm back by 6 or 7 a.m. Put it that way.
Yeah, that's so true. Do you call it a short boggy?
I call it a short buggy.
I've never heard of that. I love that.
Yeah, no, when you go out, have a bop in a buggy, but you have a short one, a little short buggy. Maybe it's
A
my...
short bogey.
I don't know. People tell me I
That's
speak
great.
weird, to be fair, and I have an old accent. But...
No, I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I mean, I didn't used to really go clubbing that much in London. Like, I don't know, when I was like 17, 18, I used to quite enjoy it, and yeah, it was fun. But then the friends I made, we preferred to go to the pub, really, at uni. I don't know, we'd do little parties and things like that, but the pub was really where we'd end up going.
Yeah.
So it's a different experience here. But I think when I first moved, it was kind of fundamental, actually, to go.
In terms of
for
like
me,
making,
anyway.
in terms of like experience culture, or like making friends, collaborations, or like the whole bunch.
I think the social aspect.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's how we
you
met.
meet so many people. Yeah, exactly. This is a collaboration.
It's a collaboration. It's a collaboration of art.
Yeah, the social aspect for sure. And also, I think it gave me definitely a newfound confidence, because, I don't know, when I first was going out in Berlin, I was kind of clinging on to my friends a little bit. I was definitely a bit like a deer in headlights. I was like, this is really fun, but it's also very intense.
Yeah.
And now I'm very much so, I'll go out with my friends, but I'm very happy to go off, I don't know, do my own thing, chat with new people if I want, come back to them. You know, it's a lot more like, I know more what kind of party I like, what I don't, and that's nice. I think it can give you confidence, yeah.
Definitely. It's Berlin does feel, especially with the partying, it could be more of like an independent scene as well, and it's like definitely a confidence building place is what I found. Well, I keep going back. I love it. I always come back here feeling great. But one thing I kind of wanted to ask about as well was, so before you were kind of talking about, you know, some of your projects and things you're working on and some things you do to make money, pay the bills within the ceramics world. How do you find sometimes that balance of, you know, paying the bills and keeping things afloat and making things how you want to make them? Like, do you have a way of kind of how you portion it off and give yourself a bit of both? Because I think the art world can be quite cruel, where you can't just do everything you really want to do, because at the end of the day, we've got to pay to live in four walls, don't we?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's still a challenge. I haven't quite figured it out, and you do have to make sacrifices. And I think that's definitely, I'll be honest, another reason I'm not going out. It's so expensive.
Yeah.
But like now, I'm able to afford a studio just because also if you're a freelancer, tax here is crazy.
Yeah.
So it doesn't leave you much. If you are paying for a studio, because I am paying for a studio, I want to feel like I am there enough and getting my money's worth. And that sometimes means sacrificing, maybe seeing your friends. You can't be with them all the time. But I think, you know, I feel lucky and grateful that the friends I have made here understand that. I mean, a lot of my friends here are artists as well, so they understand that too.
Yeah, and
I think, yeah, I was also going to say, just living in London, I mean, it was more expensive there objectively. So I think I got quite good at budgeting when I was living there.
Yeah. And I guess as well, because a lot of people not into ceramics don't realise it's expensive. It's very expensive. All the materials, the studio, finding a studio with a kiln, as you said. And I imagine there's so much more expenses I don't know about. So it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, this is also why I changed studios, because on top of now I'm going to have a kiln, getting your work fired in ceramic studios is so expensive. And it's a beautiful thing and it's a terrible thing that ceramics has become so popular. It's beautiful because I love that everyone is interested in it. And I mean, I can't act like I've done it for years and years and years. I mean, done it for like 3 years, 3.5. I think now. I can't remember. But like, also it means that pottery studios, number one, are very expensive to run because of all the energy you require. But also it's kind of hard to make money, so they have to charge a certain amount. And then on top of that, because it's so popular now, there's definitely a certain clientele that will go to learn pottery classes often. So if you look in a lot of places in Berlin, but especially in London as well, like, it's very expensive. And I don't want to shit on people in tech, but it's often a lot of people in tech who often have quite a lot of money who do it, which drives the prices up. And then that can mean for artists like me, that's harder to afford to make your work. But luckily, the new studio I'm going to move into, I can find my work there. So it's going to save me a lot of moolah.
Yeah, and you're completely right about how expensive just even classes, courses are. I remember, because ever since I came back from travelling, like, I don't know when, a year ago or something now, I've been wanting to pursue everything. And I did look at, say, pottery, I looked at ceramics. Expensive. It's like, you could easily go for a 3-day course and it's about 500 quid. Or more sometimes.
Oh my God. Okay, I didn't know it was that much.
I don't know if I'm plucking those figures out of my head somewhere and I've got it wrong, but I feel like, okay, maybe not 500, maybe like 200 or something. But it was expensive. It was expensive enough to be like, for me, I can't justify this right now. But yeah, you're right. And then it does make it hard because, you know, people are doing this as leisure, something to enjoy, something to experience. But then this is your career and the world of art's already hard enough.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's definitely like loopholes you can kind of learn, and I've had to kind of relearn them here. When I was working at one in London, that was great because it meant I got a lot of free firings and free materials. And this is actually how a lot of people in ceramics get into it, is there's this kind of process that a lot of studios offer, which is what I did, where I was working there and I was doing something called a work exchange until I was getting paid as well when I knew enough about it. So on top of doing work exchange there, I would be working other jobs, so then I could do this. But it meant I'd work shifts there, and then the hours I'd done, I could basically exchange for material costs, kiln firings, all those kind of things. So my mind was so blown when I eventually actually had to start paying for these things because I'd never had to before. But yeah, like, you just, unfortunately, like, for me, like, that's what I'm going to invest in. That's, you know, that's where I have saved, that's where I put my savings, and I feel like it's worthwhile, makes me happy. And yeah, there are loopholes around it. There's certain places you can get cheaper materials and things like that. And yeah, I think also you just got to look, you know, where's a cheaper firing, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, if you want to like learn ceramics and you have a bit of extra time, maybe approach a studio, ask if they'll do work exchange with you. It's a way better way to, like, that is if they're, you know, open to kind of teaching you. But that's how I learned, and it was really beneficial, actually. It was a good way of doing it.
Yeah, definitely. And you spoke there about, like, you know, about happiness, and I was kind of wanted to ask you, it was kind of on a list of questions that I was going to get to anyway. Since moving to Berlin, like, how have you found it in terms of getting out of London, in terms of your mental health, your happiness, your well-being? Was there a challenge at the start, moving to a new place? Or did things just fall into place quite quickly?
Yes, definitely was a challenge.
Yeah.
At first. There's kind of this, I don't want to say myth, like a common knowledge, I suppose, which I discovered only after I'd experienced it, but apparently it's like well known amongst people here. There's like a 2-week mark. When you get to that point, it feels like, you feel like a piece of shit. Like, question everything. Why am I here? You know, I don't have any friends, blah, blah, blah. And I remember that day, I was sitting in Mao Park and I was journaling and I was writing, I've made all the wrong decisions. You know, this is really tough. And then the next day you flip into my journal, the next page, it's like, I changed my mind. I met so many people last night. I made some new friends. And that's what it's been like here. It's not been a steady constant. And life isn't. But I think especially when you move somewhere new, a new city, it can be quite tumultuous.
You're subject to a lot of change in one go. And I guess that's quite overwhelming, because I imagine you move to a new place, you're looking for an apartment, you're wanting friends, you're working on your art as well, you're wanting projects. It's very easy to compare to the more, like, I'd say relatively more like secure life you had before. And especially in the moment when you're going through it, it's very easy to say I made the wrong choice, but you can't. That's why, as you said, like, I think 2-week mark's a good point for it, because I often find when I start something new, do something new, go to a new place, or have moved in my life, sometimes it takes me like 6 months before I have a grasp of, or this is the right thing to do. It was just kind of hard to see at the start.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think it took me about 2 years to feel settled in London.
Yeah.
And I always remind myself of that.
London's a hard place to move to, like, when you're not from the city.
Berlin.
I mean, London itself, I found London when I moved to London, it was hard to adjust. It took a lot of time, because I lived in Spain for a year after that, for my year abroad, and I felt going from London to Spain was easier than going from Coventry to London, if that makes sense.
London is just a whirlwind though, isn't it? It's a crazy place. It really is. And I think that's the thing, I kept reminding myself, if I lived in London, I can definitely do it here. And there's a slower pace here that I like. People are seem less stressed, actually.
Yeah.
Other than the housing thing, I think it's more chill.
Yeah, my interpretation of Berlin is, it almost feels like it has more like a Latin approach to life, in terms of, like, it's very relatable for when I was in South America, where people are in less of a rush to do things. People are more willing to enjoy the moment they're in, the time they're in. Whereas London can be very A to B, time matters, let's get everything done on a schedule. Like, I'm not sure if you experienced it when you were in London, but I feel like to see anyone, you have to make plans. And because everyone else is making plans. So if you're not making plans, there are some people I just won't see. Compared to whenever I'm in Berlin, it's like, I just message someone, what are you doing today? They're like, oh, I'm free now, let's go meet up for a coffee. And that's really lovely.
It's so true. It's definitely, obviously it's a smaller city, but I think people show up more here. People show up more, you know, if there's something going on, great, we'll be there. You know, and that doesn't mean people in London don't want to, but it's just so hectic. You do have to plan, and you can be more spontaneous here, I think, which is nice. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just the weather here, to be honest. I think the greyness just sucks all the energy out of you. But which we're having a grey summer right now, so yeah. But no, it does genuinely sound like moving to Berlin's been a very good experience for you, and you've kind of got through to a point now where you've got so many cool projects coming up. You know, you've got exhibitions, you've got a chance to create. I remember last time we spoke, you were telling me that I think you were gonna showcase some work in Neukölln, if that was correct.
Yeah, so that was where my studio is now. And then I was gonna do it there, but now I'm moving. I think I'm gonna do it in the new space.
Yeah.
Simply because I think the other space is a little bit nicer.
I mean,
yeah, I do like Neukölln though. They've actually got some cool things coming up. I think I told you about the 48-hour Neukölln thing.
Sounds really when is that again?
It's the end of this month. My friend Yana's showing. I'm really excited for her. I'm going to support her for that. It's her first solo show. It's a really cool concept. You can kind of just pick a space in Neukölln. It's like, you know, it could be a bakery or like a garage or whatever, and you can just show work in it. And I think that's such a fantastic idea. And something like that just doesn't really happen in London.
No.
I can't wait to kind of just see like the weird interior spaces of Neukölln. But parts you don't see, you know.
If it's when I'm in Berlin, I should check that out. Because I'm coming Berlin, 27th of June till 1st July?
Oh, do you know what? I think it might be the 26th. But maybe it's a weekend. Because it's 48 hours. So maybe it's on when you're here.
Okay,
I'll find out.
fingers crossed. I'll add that to my sandwich plans in Berlin of music and going to a football game. But no, it genuinely sounds like things have been really working out for you, and I'm happy for you. It just seemed like a good choice.
Thank you. That being said, I don't know. Recently, I came back to London for a little bit, and like I literally was there for 10 days, and within the first 3 days, someone contacted me and asked me to be in a one day kind of show. And it just kind of felt like, Lottie, like, obviously you come back to London and you're offered something. And then in my head for a little bit, I was like, maybe I should move back to London. And I think just like the flat situation was getting to me. But now I've kind of made peace with it again. And
yeah. And as you said,
London, I lived there for a while.
Yeah, you said London's going nowhere. It's always going to be here. There's always going to be other opportunities. And it just kind of goes to show, doesn't it? Like the work you've been doing in Berlin meant that you came back to London, you're only here for 3 days and you found an opportunity very fast. So who's to say that won't happen again? Probably will.
Oh, thanks, babes. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. But no, I think this is a good place to wrap, actually. The only thing I wanted to ask you was, do you have anything to shout out? Like, where can we find you on social media or any of your work or any of your exhibitions? Just say what you want to do and feel free to shout out anyone else. Up to you. Leave it to
Yeah, my friend Jana is showing at 48 Hour Neukölln, I actually don't know where it is, but you should just go to 48 Hour Neukölln because there's so many amazing artists, and particularly in that area of the city. If you're in Berlin, that is. You can find my Instagram, which is at L Stevens with a PH, L Stevens Art. I also have a website, which is lottiestevens.com. As for exhibitions, I'll put that in my Instagram when I'm ready. But I think, right now I'm totally head down in the making process, which is the fun part. And I'm cooking up some new things.
I actually had one question that just popped into my head now. I'm just very intrigued. When you're in the making process, do you listen to music?
Oh, it depends. I think, if it's an evening session, definitely. I've started going into the studio just for a few hours at night, which sometimes can be a bit of a challenge because often I can really be there for a long time. But so from there at night, I like music on. But in the day, I actually really like podcasts. I love listening to podcasts. But I mainly listen to jazz or mainly jazz, to be honest, something very mellow.
Good for the creative mind.
Not any techno. No techno.
I couldn't imagine creating to techno. I mean, actually, no, I could, to be honest. I don't know. I mean, I used to do everything.
Maybe it would change my work quite a lot if I started listening to that. Maybe I should give it a go.
Give it a go. See what's going to come out. But yeah, I'll make sure to link all your socials in the Instagram post when this comes out, and in or wherever all these the episode comes on all the platforms, I'll link your info. And if I figure out how to improve my video editing skills, I'll try and put a picture of the claws of the video, because I think that'll be cool.
Oh, thank you. That would be great.
But no.
And also, if you are CSM student, apply for Stockholm residency. It is amazing, and it's life changing. And yeah.
Well, yeah,
recommend.
given I hand out my podcast stickers that fold every unfold, and it's probably all going to CSM students, maybe they will listen to this, and yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But
They've got their degree show on at the moment. You should go. I can't because I'm here. But
yeah, they do. Someone I actually met at Unfold from CSM. I've seen them posting on the Instagram about their degree show. So yeah.
Yeah, it looks great. It's such a fun time.
Yeah, but now Lottie, it's been good chatting, and yeah, glad to have you on. Nice to chat to you about the world of ceramics as well. It's something I'm not very familiar with, and also it's just a nice change from everyone else who's always into music. So it seems to be like It always seems to be like the common theme of my podcast, which is I'm meeting everyone at music events. What do I expect? But I interview interesting people I find interesting. That's the premise. And and like yourself, you are very interesting.
Oh, thank you. Well, I can fit the Clady niche now, so you can tick that box.
Clady, great term. Yeah. But now it was good having you on. Take care.